What if our entire universe, with its billions of galaxies and the unstoppable flow of time, what if that's not the whole story? What if it's all just a dynamic current, flowing within a much larger, timeless reality? This is the core idea we're diving into today, a really radical new framework for the cosmos, one that might just change everything we think we know.
Right off the bat, this whole perspective starts with a super bold statement. The idea here isn't that the universe began with some chaotic hot explosion. Instead, it suggests the universe is a continuous projection, almost like a movie being cast from a higher dimensional source. It's meant to be a single, elegant system that replaces some of the biggest, clunkiest patches in modern cosmology. And that is exactly the right question to ask. I mean, the standard model of cosmology is incredibly successful, right? But it's also starting to show some serious cracks. It's creaking under the weight of some pretty profound mysteries, concepts we basically had to invent just to make the math work out. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to look at the problems our current model has. Then we'll dive into this core idea of a universe flowing within a cosmic sea. See how it offers up a totally new origin story and how it might just elegantly solve the whole dark sector mystery. And this is crucial. We'll look at a real testable prediction before wrapping up with an invitation to a whole new way of seeing things. All right, first up, cosmology's greatest mysteries. Let's call these the uncharted territories, the places where our standard map of the universe just runs into a dead end. And there are three really big ones. First, you've got the singularity, this idea that the universe began as a point of infinite density where all our known laws of physics literally just break. Then there's dark matter, some mysterious invisible stuff that we need to explain the extra gravity holding galaxies together. And finally, dark energy, an even weirder force that seems to be pushing the universe apart, faster and faster. Get this, together they supposedly make up 95% of everything, and we have no real idea what they are. Which brings us to a new map of reality. This is where things get really interesting, because this new framework, based on a fifth dimension, offers a completely different way of looking at the whole picture. At the very heart of this is the idea of a fifth dimension. But look, forget everything you've seen in sci-fi. This isn't just another direction you can point in. It's proposed as this timeless, infinite sea of pure potential. Think of it like a primordial ocean of what the framework calls S-energy, the raw stuff from which reality itself is drawn, where every possibility exists all at once. And this brings us to the core analogy, the main idea you gotta grasp. Our universe, our four-dimensional spacetime, it isn't separate from the sea. It is the sea, just in motion. It's a dynamic current flowing within that timeless ocean, constantly being fed and sustained by it. It's one reality, an ocean, and we're just a current inside it. Okay, so what does this new map say about where we came from? Well, this is where we get a completely new origin story, one that begins with a cold start, not a hot Big Bang. The standard model, over on the left, it starts with that crazy, infinitely hot and dense singularity, a totally chaotic beginning where physics just gives up. This new idea on the right says that's not just a problem, it's a geometric impossibility. It suggests you simply can't tile 3D space perfectly at time zero, kind of like how you can't tile a flat floor using only pentagons. You're always going to have gaps. And the theory argues these initial gaps aren't flaws. They're the very seeds of cosmic structure, projected from that higher dimension. So the crucial point is this. The universe isn't born from chaos. It's projected from a state of perfect order, from the absolute zero temperature and zero entropy of that timeless 5D sea, a quiet, orderly, almost silent beginning. And this completely flips how everything forms. The standard model on the left builds cosmic structures from the bottom up, tiny things chaotically clumping together. This new idea proposes a top-down formation. The very first structures are seeded by those geometric imperfections we just talked about, those gaps in the initial projection. This naturally creates a much smoother, more coherent cosmic web right from the start, which, by the way, actually seems to line up better with some of our latest observations. Now let's see how this model tackles the biggest puzzles of all, the dark sector. The argument here is that dark matter and dark energy aren't two separate, weird mysteries. They're just two sides of a single cosmic flow. The key insight here is that maybe we're not looking for new particles or brand new forces. Maybe it's all about understanding the continuous interaction, the give and take, between that timeless 5DC and our 4D current. That very push and pull, the inflow and outflow, is the dark sector. So let's break that down. Dark matter gets reframed as projected gravity. It's not a particle. It's a smooth projection of pure gravitational curvature from the 5D sea that acts as a kind of invisible scaffolding for galaxies to form on. And dark energy? That's a hydraulic effect, a constant super subtle inflow of that S energy from the sea. It seeps into our universe through the emptiest voids, pressing on the fabric of space-time and causing it to stretch and expand. Okay, so this all sounds like a really fascinating philosophy, right? But is it science? Well, a good scientific theory has to stick its neck out. It has to make a prediction that we can actually go out and test. It needs a potential smoking gun. And this idea makes a very specific one, the void hydrogen floor. The concept is pretty simple. If this energy is constantly flowing into our universe, some of it has to condense into the simplest possible form of matter. That's pristine, neutral hydrogen. And we should find it as a faint, uniform bath in the absolute emptiest places in the cosmos, the great voids between galaxy superclusters. And this isn't just some vague idea. It comes with a hard number. The theory predicts a specific density of about 2/10,000,000 of an atom per cubic centimeter. That is an incredibly faint signal, but it's a specific, testable line in the sand. Finding that wouldn't just be interesting, it would be absolutely revolutionary. And here's the best part. This isn't science fiction. We can actually look for this. Next-generation radio telescopes like the Square Kilometer Array are powerful enough to potentially detect this whisper of a signal. If they find it, it's monumental evidence for this new model. And if they don't, well, then the theory is wrong or needs a major rewrite. And that, right there, is what makes it a real scientific proposal. So, let's just pull it all together for a second. This isn't just a collection of clever fixes for old problems. It's an invitation to see the entire cosmos as a single, coherent story. Just look at how this one core idea reframes everything. It swaps out the breakdown of physics at the Big Bang singularity for an orderly cold start. It replaces the kind of ad hoc patch of cosmic inflation with a natural top-down structure formation. And it gets rid of the need for exotic dark matter particles and a mysterious cosmological constant, replacing them with the two simple effects of a single-dimensional flow. Ultimately, this reframes our entire place in the cosmos. As the source material puts it so beautifully, perhaps the universe is not a closed, self-contained system. Perhaps it is a current within an eternal sea, and we are within it, learning to read the code of the ocean from which we flow. And that leaves us with one final, provocative question. This new view offers explanations for some of the biggest questions we have today. But if it's right, if we really are just beginning to learn how to read the code of this cosmic ocean, what other, even more profound truths are just waiting to be discovered out there in the depths?